If you're tuning into this right now, I'm guessing there's a pretty good chance you are running on fumes. Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we are going to completely unpack the scientific and, well, the psychological reasons why you are just always drained. And more importantly, we're going to figure out exactly how to fix it. Let's dive in. I want to kick things off by acknowledging something absolutely crucial, and that's your frustration. You probably feel like you're constantly stuck in this endless rut, just dragging your feet through every single day. And let me tell you, validating that feeling, that is step one. Your exhaustion is entirely real. Seriously, it's not all in your head, and it is definitely not a character flaw. It's a genuine, measurable state that so many of us are just trapped in right now. And right here is the ultimate modern paradox that we all face. You slept a full 8 hours, you ate pretty well. On paper, your life is, completely fine. And yet, you are still completely exhausted. What is up with that? Well, this tells us something super important. Physical rest just isn't curing your fatigue anymore. We're looking at a much deeper, invisible drain on your entire system. Get this, 78%. A recent survey actually found that 78% of Indian employees are burnt out. And honestly, this totally mirrors data we see from all around the globe. This proves that what we are dealing with here is a massive modern epidemic. It's a systemic issue with how we live and work, so please hear me when I say, this is not just a personal failure on your part. All right, Section 1, laziness versus burnout, spotting the difference. Let's redefine the actual problem here by completely debunking the myth that you're just being lazy, because I guarantee you that's exactly what that little voice in your head is whispering. But laziness and burnout are fundamentally wildly different things. Laziness, that's actually a very stable, really relaxed trait. A truly lazy person is totally unbothered. They are perfectly happy not doing much. But burnout, that hits people who used to be highly driven. If you used to care deeply about things and now you just feel this heavy apathy and emotional numbness, you aren't lazy. You are burnt out. When you're mentally exhausted, even the simplest chores, like, washing a single coffee mug or replying to a one-line email, they literally feel like they have a million impossible steps. You feel disconnected, right? Just going through the motions on autopilot. You also probably get easily irritated, and that's because your nervous system is essentially stuck in a low-grade fight-or-flight response. You're in a constant defensive state. And that is exactly why just taking a quick nap doesn't fix a thing. Moving on to Section 2, the evolutionary energy trap. Let's look at the brain's design. Let's shift gears for a second to understand the evolutionary biology behind why our brains are actively making us feel this way. Because believe it or not, your brain is doing this on purpose. The absolute crucial point here is that tiredness isn't just a physical state of needing sleep, it's actually an emotion. It's an adaptive energy conservation strategy. Your brain intentionally triggers the feeling of being tired to stop you from wasting your precious energy on tasks it thinks are just way too difficult or won't succeed. Basically, it's your brain's way of saying, hey, don't bother, it's not worth the calories. And wow, does this create a massive internal battle in your head? On one side, we've got the limbic system. That's our ancient animal brain that just wants quick, super easy dopamine right this very second. But on the other side, that's the prefrontal cortex, the modern, logical human brain that plans for all our long-term goals, like studying for a degree or doing our taxes. And these two, they are constantly at war with each other. You see, your brain is constantly running a cost-benefit analysis. It's always weighing the effort versus the potential reward. But modern life is absolutely packed with cheap dopamine. Think scrolling on your phone for hours or eating junk food. Stuff that requires literal zero effort, but gives a super high reward. This completely skews the brain scale. Suddenly, constructive tasks, like working on a major project, seem energetically too expensive. So what does your brain do? It literally flips the tired switch to conserve your energy, making you feel completely exhausted before you've even started. Which brings us to Section 3, the hidden emotional drain. This is all about invisible exhaustion. Because beyond our evolutionary wiring, we're also carrying these heavy, invisible psychological weights that quietly drain our batteries every single day, completely under the radar. Think about it this way. Unprocessed emotions are literally like open background apps draining a smartphone battery. Every suppressed disappointment, every bit of unspoken anger, every single time you said, oh, I'm fine, when you definitely weren't, these create open loops. And your mind, it just keeps checking these loops over and over, constantly sapping your mental energy right there in the background. Then, on top of that, we have microstressors. We usually think only massive life events cause stress, right? But the reality is, it's the 100 tiny daily stress hits, a cluttered room, an annoying email notification, that lingering background guilt. And you know the funniest part? Your primitive brain honestly cannot tell the difference between a real tiger attacking you in the wild and a mildly passive-aggressive email from your boss. It's crazy. This keeps your nervous system on super high alert, elevating your cortisol levels and trapping you in a state of exhausting low-grade panic. And of course, when we try to just ignore all this, it totally backfires. Avoiding your emotions is like trying to hold a massive beach ball underwater. Sure, you might look totally calm and collected on the outside, but man, it requires a continuous and absolutely exhausting amount of internal energy to maintain that suppression. No wonder you have zero energy left for your actual life, right? All right, let's look at section 4, the burden of choice, drowning in decisions. Let's talk about another massive modern drain on your energy reserves, and that's the sheer volume of daily choices we are forced to make. 35,000. Yeah, you heard that right. That is the shocking reality of roughly how many decisions you make every single day. From picking your exact coffee order out of dozens of variations, to figuring out what to wear, to drafting the absolute perfect response to a team email, we are quite literally drowning in choices. And all of this leads straight to decision fatigue. I want you to think of your self-control like a battery. Every single minor choice you make, it slowly drains that battery. This perfectly explains why, at the end of a really long day, you skip the gym, you ghost a text message from a friend, or you just order junk food. Your battery's dead. You completely fall into analysis paralysis, procrastination, and those impulsive low-effort behaviors that are entirely driven by that ancient limbic system we talked about earlier. Which leads us to our final part, section 5, reclaiming your daily energy. Let's get into some practical fixes. Now that we know exactly what is stealing our vitality, those evolutionary traps, the open emotional apps, and decision fatigue, let's look at some real biological fixes to beat this burnout. First things first, we need to close those open background apps in your brain. And you can do this daily with something called the 60-second honesty check. Here's how it works. Sit perfectly still. Put your hand on your chest and ask yourself, what am I avoiding right now? Just let the word come up. Maybe it's anger, maybe sadness, maybe shame. Name the emotion out loud and just breathe out. Simply by noticing and naming it, you are actively telling your nervous system that the threat is over. This signals safety and finally stops that invisible energy drain. Next up, let's implement a few rapid-fire daily energy fixes. If you have a massive project staring you down, your brain gets tired just thinking about it. So chunk it down. Break it into tiny, bite-sized steps to trick your limbic system into seeing a really easy, low-effort win. You also want to automate your simple choices. Eat the same breakfast, wear a similar outfit, do whatever you can to preserve that daily decision battery. Also, try to adopt a universal no for any new commitments unless they are absolutely 100% essential. And finally, build in 1-minute micro-recovery windows. Literally just looking out a window and taking deep breaths for 60 seconds between tasks can significantly drop your cortisol levels. As we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with one absolutely vital question to ponder today. What are you wasting energy avoiding today? Facing your hidden drains really is the only way to stop the leak. It's time to stop letting these invisible forces steal your vitality. Let's finally reclaim your energy and reclaim your life.